Murder Drones, an awesome 3D animated show about robotic drones and murder. Lots and lots of murder. Made by Liam Vickers, this series of 8 episodes is jam-packed with murder, action, humor, and eldritch horrors beyond our comprehension. So if you haven't watched it yet, then go do so right now. It's literally free to watch on YouTube. Then after you finish watching the series, listen to the soundtrack by itself, because the soundtrack by AJ Despirito is murderously good. Now if you've already watched Murder Drones, or you just don't care about being spoiled, then let's jump in. We follow along the story of an absolutely normal worker drone named Uzi, who lives in a bunker high school combo called Outpost 3 on the frozen remains of Copper 9, a planet decimated when its core collapsed due to unknown reasons. Uzi struggles with being seen as an outcast, the possibility of being trapped in the bunker forever, and dealing with her overbearing father, Khan, who wants her to follow in his footsteps in being a coward and hiding behind doors. Uzi, however, doesn't want to hide behind doors for the rest of her life, and sets out to complete her ultimate weapon, the sick-as-hell railgun, capable of destroying the murderous cannibalistic disassembly drones. Robotic drones created by the J.C. Jensen in Space Company to dispose of the remaining worker drones on Copper 9. They are driven to kill by their need for machine oil to prevent themselves from overheating. The disassembly drones are armed with razor-sharp claws, long steel swords, missile launchers, HK-MP5s, EMPs, laser cutters, chainsaw hands, frickin' ninja stars, and a bubble blower. They also have stingers on the end of their tails that inject nanite acid into worker drones to completely eat away at their bodies, and each feather on their wings is also a long steel blade that they can use to stab with or as a shield. Oh, and they're really good at kicking. Anyways, when Uzi completes her railgun, she attempts to destroy one of the disassembly drones, only to give it the robot equivalent of a concussion. With its sensors damaged, the disassembly drone mistakes Uzi for a fellow disassembler, and explains some of the lore about the other disassembly drones to her. He introduces himself as Serial Designation N and tells her about the other two, Serial Designation J and Serial Designation V. Upon learning more about them, Uzi realizes that the worker drones and disassembly drones could work together to escape the planet and stop J.C. Jensen from sending any more disassembly drones after them. However, Jay has different plans and decides to attack Outpost 3. With N's help, Uzi is able to destroy the corporate loyalist J and capture V. She then banishes herself from Outpost 3 and vows to go to Earth to fight the humans that killed her mother. However, there are many twists and revelations throughout the story, and Uzi goes from planning the extermination of all humans on Earth to preventing the consumption of Copper-9 by some sort of eldritch horror. So I guess you could say Uzi gets sidetracked quite a bit. Believe it or not, Uzi's whole journey is spoiled for us within the very first few minutes of the first episode. When Uzi is giving her presentation about why she built her railgun, we see an alternate version of the hero's journey circle, which is a storytelling template used by many different forms of media for their narrative. And in this version, we see it follows the entire series beat for beat. Call to action. Like I said before, Uzi leaves the safety of Outpost 3 to complete her railgun and destroy the disassembly drones. Unlikely A. Then one of the disassembly drones, N, decides to help Uzi with her journey. Angsty teen overload. As it turns out, Uzi isn't just a normal worker drone after all. She is infected with something called the Absolute Solver, a program that gives her and other infected drones really cool powers, but with the downside of overheating and needing to consume machine oil to survive, like a disassembly drone. Anyways, Uzi goes on a field trip with the rest of her classmates in order to find out more about the Cabin Fever Labs, a place where worker drones were infected with the Absolute Solver in order to find a way to fight it. It's also where her mother came from too. Unfortunately, due to a combination of emotional turmoil, V antagonizing her, and overheating from overuse of her powers, Uzi goes into an oil lust rampage and physically transforms into a more disassembly drone-like form called her Solver form. In this Solver form, Uzi ended up murdering and eating several of her fellow classmates in order to satisfy her oil lust, and she could only be stopped when N gave her counseling. Helper 1. V, another disassembly drone, finally decides to trust and help Uzi, instead of just tagging along to kill others. While she was originally taken prisoner, V eventually grows to trust Uzi enough to even sacrifice her own life for her. Mentor. While searching for Uzi in the camp cabins, N finds a VHS tape that warns him about something called zombie drones, an occurrence where an improperly disposed of worker drone could come back to life with potentially hazardous mutations in its programming. When N watches the tape, he ends up reliving his past memories in some sort of simulation within the Absolute Solver hive mind, where we learn several important things. For one thing, the disassembly drones used to be normal worker drones. Then we have Tessa, a young girl who rescues improperly disassembled worker drones and gives them a home in her family's mansion. Finally, we learn about Sin, the first ever zombie drone, and the progenitor of the mutated Absolute Solver. She would kill off a bunch of humans in an event called the Gala Massacre, then proceed to destroy the entirety of Earth. Also, she killed and experimented on all of the worker drones within Tessa's mansion, eventually turning them into disassembly drones. Challenges and temptations. Since she learned about her absolute solver powers at the end of episode 3, Uzi has been using it to deal with any problems she comes across. Like Doll, another worker drone infected with the absolute solver. Or the Sentinels, dinosaur-like robots that can freeze drones by bootlooping them, which were created to dispose of the cabin fever test subjects. Unfortunately, the more she uses the absolute solver, the more it seems to spiral out of control or take control of Uzi. We see this happen when she is a prisoner of the cannibal drones, Alice and Bayou, and she tries to use her powers to escape, only to be taken control of, potentially by Sin. Though this does allow her to escape. Helper number 2. One possibility is Tessa, now an adult, who came to Copper 9 to eliminate any infected worker drones and stop Sin's plan. N, V, and Uzi meet up with Tessa right outside the cabin fever labs. And while she does help, her true intentions are a mystery, as Tessa is quite manipulative and seems to want Uzi dead for some reason. The other possibility is Nori, Uzi's mother. While searching for Uzi in the depths of the cabin fever labs, In is rescued from the grip of an unknown eldritch monster by Nori, who, as it turns out, is still alive as a free-roaming core. She has been searching for the Patch, a device capable of fixing the corrupted solver so she could use it to stop any other infected drones from destroying Copper 9. Nori decides to help In find Uzi so they can give her the Patch and cure her. Revelation. While searching for answers about the cabin fever experiments, Uzi learns that her mother was the one who collapsed the core of Copper 9 and killed all the humans there. Full angsty overload. Due to the combination of learning the truth about her mother and Tessa's attempted assassination, Uzi falls under the full control of Sin. She ends up destroying the Patch and nearly eats Nori, until N reveals that he and Uzi are just kinda hanging out. Like a lot. Thus prompting Nori to slap Uzi back to her senses. While it worked to end Sin's control of her, Uzi still ends up dating a disassembly drone, so it only halfway worked. Atonement. After N and Uzi get back together, Tessa is revealed to actually be Sin, who killed Tessa all the way back at the Gala Massacre in episode 5, and has been wearing her skin ever since. Which I totally called it, by the way. Anyways, Sin decides to eat the planet, and an epic battle ensues. When she tries to pull both N and Uzi into the planet whole mouth thing she created, Uzi sacrifices herself to save N. But instead of dying, she ends up getting yeeted into space, thus allowing her to return for round 2 against Sin. At some point, the trio of Khan, Thad, and Lizzie arrive to the entrance of the cabin fever labs and are now fighting a clone of Jay, who was secretly working for Sin the whole time. The trio end up being saved by V, who survived her sacrifice and now has a new pet sentinel named Sparky. Eventually, Uzi, N, and V end up facing off against Sin and Jay in an epic planet-destroying battle, which ends with Jay being KO'd and Uzi eating Sin's heart out, therefore making her a practical god. Return. After everything is said and done, Uzi returns to Outpost 3 with all her new friends and family to live happily ever after. Also, En and Uzi are like dating now. Khan and Nori have been reunited, Thad and Lizzie might be dating, and V has En, Lizzie, a pet sentinel named Sparky, and I guess Uzi too, as her new friend group. So it seems as though that everyone gets a happy ending, except for Dawn. And so the series ends the same way it started, with Uzi giving a class presentation. Now the only thing that wasn't spoiled by the beginning presentation was the fact that Tessa was dead and Sin had fused with her corpse. Though during Uzi's presentation at the end of the series, we're shown another version of the hero's journey. This time saying, forget about all this instantly, get tunnel vision on spooky corpse robot reveal, work backwards from there. This is probably a fun little reference to the development of the series, and how Liam made this entire series just for that moment, along with the Bite Me boss fight. The point is, Uzi's presentation at the beginning of the series practically laid out the whole journey that she was going to experience. Anyways, just wanted to share that interesting fact with you and recap the entire series at the same time. Moving on. Liam Vickers and Glitch have made it quite clear that the 8th episode was the final episode, which sucks because I love everything about murder drones. At least there is some good news. With murder drones over, Liam can now focus on other things, like continuing the Cliffside series, or finishing the Internekion Cube series. However, I don't think we're quite done with the murder drones. We have gotten confirmation of a graphic novel adaptation of murder drones. There's also the fact that Murder Drones is airing on Amazon Prime, something that happened months after the final episode was released. So this could mean that there's more episodes coming in the future, though I wouldn't call this confirmation of future seasons. Neither of these things prove that we're getting more episodes. But I still think that Murder Drones isn't quite over yet. Because with so many loose ends and unanswered questions, it's not a matter of if Murder Drones will return, but when it will return. Hopefully soon, because I would rather not wait several years before seeing my favorite killer drones back in action. Good day everybody, Lantis here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the ending of the series, answer some lingering questions, and find clues about what could potentially happen in a future series. Now I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't have enough information to make an accurate prediction. However, I have noticed multiple parallel scenes throughout the series. For one example, the way Tessa holds the gun at the Gala massacre is exactly the same way she holds the gun when she fires a shot at Doll. So, just like the presentation scenes at the beginning and end of Murder Drones, I believe that several scenes throughout the series will be mirrored in the new series, movie, or possibly even a graphic novel. So I will base my predictions on this fact and the end credit scenes, because those scenes definitely give us clues on what happens next. So let's begin with the end. After Uzi defeats Sin and everyone is shown to be alive, we cut to a presentation scene where Uzi is explaining her journey to a class full of the students who somehow didn't get killed throughout the series, and a couple new students, N and V. After this, an end credit sequence plays out, where we're shown images of Uzi, N, and the rest of the gang living their daily lives. But there are a few interesting images to take note of. First of all, we're shown Jay fixing up a spaceship inside of the corpse spire. Now, we did see the spaceship get absolutely destroyed by her in the previous episode. However, Jay could have salvaged one of the other spaceships and somehow brought it into the spire to fix it up. Which leaves us to wonder, where is she planning to go with the spaceship? Though I do know one thing, it would make a great escape plan if something were to happen to Copper 9 in the future, like being consumed by the singularity. Next, we're shown a glitchy, shadowy figure in the hallway. The figure is presumably Doll due to its red eyes and similar pose to one from an earlier episode. Though how she came back and why she's so glitchy is still a mystery. Many theorize that this version of Doll is a ghost, a robo-ghost, haunting the same hallways where she once hunted for fresh worker drone students to consume. You see, Doll met an unfortunate fate by Sin's many hands. After jump-scaring her, FNAF 2 Foxy style, Sin slurps up Doll's heart. Later on, Uzi ends up consuming Sin's heart, which made the Absolute Solver a part of her. This also made Doll a part of Uzi. We see that right before she blacks out, Uzi's visor glitches different colors. Her own purple, Sin's yellow, and Doll's red. We also see the name of Doll appear here on the lower right side, pretty much confirming that Doll is now a part of Uzi. So how is Doll able to appear in the hallways like a ghost? Well, it probably has something to do with the solver. Doll has always been very resourceful and stubborn, so I don't think that she would be content with being trapped inside Uzi forever. I believe that just like the Absolute Solver, Doll is able to take control of certain parts of Uzi's system. However, instead of gaining control of one of Uzi's body parts, she can only take control of a small part of the Absolute Solver system to create an apparition or a hologram. Anyways, I'll discuss this more later in the video. Finally, we're shown the cryosleep room, where we see an eldritch centiworm crab mantis thing making its home there. Now, something similar happened in episode 2 when Eldritch J retreated there while being chased by N and Uzi. She was absolutely destroyed when Uzi's railgun exploded. Something to note, the explosion caused the overhead sign to fall down. So the fact that it's back up in the same place again in this credit scene could mean that it was just a reference to episode 2. Then again, the worker drones have been shown to try to fix up the damaged parts of the bunker high school combo. So it could be that a worker drone put the sign back up there after the events of episode 2. This scene could also be related to the after credits scene where Uzi is standing at her locker alone. And while looking in the mirror, she glitches out and we see the eyes of an eldritch senti-worm crab mantis thing before she glitches back into her normal self, in which the absolute solver taunts, "You look great today. Have you considered a bow, though?" You see, in order to defeat Sin, Uzi had to destroy her core. Only when she did, it revealed the singularity. With no other choice, Uzi consumed the singularity to prevent Sin from taking it back. This would essentially make her a god, but with a serious side effect. Uzi died. After she consumed the singularity, Uzi ends up blacking out, and in the very next scene, we see her sprawled out on the ground, with several solver limbs reaching out towards a ring of machine oil around her. Something to note is the fatal error message on Uzi's visor. The same message appears on every robot drone that ever dies, including disassembly drones. Then the ring of machine oil and the solver limbs retracts back into Uzi and she wakes up, being brought back to life, but changed, different, now with half yellow, half purple eyes, indicating that she is now a damaged OC, or something better known as a zombie drone. Also, just like I said before, Uzi has been transformed into an eldritch senti-worm crab mantis monstrosity. She hides her true form behind a hologram, due to the fear of losing all of her friends if they find out the truth. In essence, Uzi lost her body, her soul, and will eventually lose her mind due to consuming the singularity core. The only saving grace is the fact that she has N, who has promised to never leave her, and the rest of her family and friends to help her keep going. However, I don't believe that would last forever. You see, Uzi ends the presentation about her journey with the words, "And yep, that's how I learned nightmares are real, and we probably should have stayed behind the old doors," thus indicating that she somewhat regrets ever leaving Outpost 3 in the first place. And why shouldn't she? Uzi had set out to avenge her mother's death and earn the respect of her father. But instead, she was left for dead by her father, encountered an eldritch abomination beyond her comprehension, went into an oil lust rampage and killed many of her fellow classmates, learned her mother was still alive and was the one who collapsed the core of Copper 9, and was traumatized by the Sen-Tessa robot corpse fusion. There were some good things though, mostly her relationship with N and the good times they had together. However, there was one moment, one sparkling moment where Uzi was truly free, when she had the full support of her family and close friends, when they were all working together like a well-oiled machine. That moment was the Bite Me boss battle with Sin, when she rose above her trauma and insecurities to declare her freedom from the Solver, only to lose that freedom and sense of self due to being forced to consume the Singularity Core in order to defeat Sin. So did Uzi get the respect that she deserves for saving Copper 9? Well, no. Because when Uzi is done with her presentation, the whole class does the awkward fake clap thing, with a couple of them so bored that they went into sleep mode. This indicates that she is still treated like a weirdo or just outright ignored by her classmates. Khan still wants Uzi to hide behind doors just like he does, as shown when he celebrates her remark about staying behind the old doors. And Lizzie still bullies her, with the only difference being that V helps her instead of Doll. Otherwise, the only two people who actually supported Uzi are In and Thad. Only two people out of the whole class. So she's right back where she started. Everything she went through, everything she sacrificed, was practically for nothing. And combined with the fact that she is no longer physically herself, Uzi is now more depressed and insecure than ever, thus making her susceptible to the influence of the Absolute Solver. This is also hinted at within the song Forever. It's the song that plays during the end credits sequence, and what Uzi is listening to as well. If you pay close attention to the lyrics, you can get a good idea of what she's feeling at the end of the series. The line, "And when the ice sets in, I'll need you," indicates Uzi's need for N's love, while also referencing the icy condition of Copper 9. Another line, "And when our time concludes, and far beyond the stars we flew, forever," tells us that N and Uzi will be together forever, even after death. Then the line, "Tell myself I lost my soul for you," references the moment Uzi consumed the Singularity Core and became the new host for it. Something she did to save her friends, specifically N. Now this line, "If only when we met, we knew you," alludes to Uzi and the Solver having some regret over meeting N for some reason. The final line, "Go thereafter, see you never," seems to be random nonsense, almost like a robot glitching out. Perhaps referencing Uzi's deteriorating mental health, or how the Solver's voice stutters when it speaks now. It could also be a reference to N, and how at some point he will be too late or not there at all for Uzi. So essentially, the song is about how the relationship between N and Uzi will seemingly last forever, but with a caveat, and a foreboding sense of impending doom, probably having something to do with the Absolute Solver. It seems as though that the Absolute Solver is self-conscious, imposing its will on the host through the guise of friendly suggestions, like when the Absolute Solver put a bow on top of Uzi's head and she doesn't take it off. So the Solver is trying to change Uzi, starting with small things, then graduating to larger things, convincing her to do things and act in a way that she normally wouldn't do, making Uzi less like herself and more like Sin. These small changes in Uzi will arouse suspicion with some of the others, especially V and Nori, and put strain on their relationships, thus creating a cycle where the more tension there is between Uzi and her friends, the more she gives in to the will of the Absolute Solver, thus creating even more tension with everybody. V is already suspicious, having nearly shot Uzi due to her new half-yellow, half-purple eyes. And seeing her change more and more, over time will definitely raise some red flags. Now we really don't see Nori interacting with Uzi after the final battle with Sen, except when she and Khan are celebrating Uzi's remark about staying behind the old doors. But I'd imagine that she would be proud of Uzi for defeating Sen and saving Copper 9. However, Nori is probably a little suspicious of her due to having consumed the Singularity Core, and will only grow more suspicious as the Absolute Solver changes Uzi over time. While he was never really a good father, Khan had grown to embrace Uzi's ideals by the end of the series, even going as far as to rebuild her sick-as-hell railgun. Now Khan probably wouldn't fully understand what's going on, but would follow along with whatever Nori says. They're pretty much an inseparable duo now, as evidenced by the end credit scenes. Thad doesn't seem to have any suspicions about Uzi whatsoever. However, his relationship with Lizzie could complicate things with her. Lizzie is basically just Uzi's bully, constantly demeaning and berating her. Now, Uzi usually brushes it off with a sarcastic or edgy rebuttal, but with the Absolute Solver influencing her, she may end up trying to hurt or kill Lizzie. If that happens, then both V and Thad would fight against Uzi to protect Lizzie. Finally, we have N. Since Uzi convinced him of the error of his ways, he has always protected her and had her back. N saved her from being assimilated by Eldritch J, helped her fight Doll, fought against V to defend her, even when she was fully under the control of Sin and actively trying to kill him and herself. He still refused to give up on Uzi. However, when V was pointing her gun at Uzi, N didn't stop her. Probably because, like V, he too was unsure whether Uzi was really herself or if the Absolute Solver had completely taken over. It was only after Uzi made her usual edgy emo remark that N and V lowered their guards around her. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that N wouldn't be comfortable with the small changes he's been noticing within Uzi. Although he's a little suspicious, he will hold out hope that Uzi is still herself and just going through a really bad time. While all this is happening with Uzi, there will be a series of disappearances in the bunker. Knowing the worker drones, these disappearances won't cause any concern among themselves, just like when Doll was hunting her fellow students earlier in the series. Now we do see V eating one of the students during Uzi's end presentation, and in one of the end credit scenes, we see N and Uzi enjoying a movie or show while eating on another student. So many of the disappearances could just be N, V, and Uzi having a quick snack. They still have to deal with overheating somehow, and they probably target the most annoying worker drones anyway. However, we also have Serial Designation J and the Ghost of Doll hunting the worker drones as well. J, the disassembly drone who always comes back, who's planning on leaving Copper 9 on the spaceship she fixed up and head to a new planet to live on. However, just like N, V, and Uzi, J has to deal with overheating as well. So she's probably been out hunting for worker drones to consume. While she could pick off any drone that wanders outside the bunker, I doubt that there are enough worker drones that are brave enough to go outside to keep J well fed. In fact, the only drones that seem to go outside are Uzi and the rest of her friends. Now, in one of the end credit scenes, we see a piece of paper with a tally count of J fake-out deaths, indicating that she has had a confrontation with our murder drone gang and seemingly died several times after the finale. So she's probably been getting into the bunker and attempting to get a couple of worker drones to eat with partial success. Jay may end up taking Thad or Lizzie, or both, hostage. Most likely just Thad though, as it would serve as a parallel with episode 2 when he was taken by Eldritch J. This would definitely spark the rest of the gang into action, mounting a rescue mission to save him before he becomes Jay's next meal. Though the gang may split up, with N and V, and let's not forget about our friendly pet sentinel Sparky, going out to save Thad, while Uzi, Nori, Khan, and maybe Lizzie go ghost hunting. When the disassembly drone duo arrive at the spire to save Thad, they will meet heavy resistance from Jay. This fight will probably be harder than the last time, due to Uzi not being there, though V was able to put up quite a fight against Jay by herself in episode 8. Also, there's the knight's sword that Sin was using, which was lost during the final battle. However, there's a chance that Jay found the sword and kept it as a reminder of Tessa, so she could use the sword during the current battle to give herself a massive advantage. Back in episode 5, we see how incredibly skilled Jay was with the sword, and that was before she became a disassembly drone. Finally, Jay will be angrier and a lot more aggressive than last time. Since Sin's death, she has been completely alone, with nothing but regretful thoughts and grief over Tessa's death, thus leaving her with quite a bit of pent-up rage. And again, back in episode 5, we see Jay get angry enough to bite through a heavy metal chain. So basically, she's going to unleash all of her rage on N and V during this fight, and it won't be pretty. Now, before we go any further, I wanted to discuss Jay's character and the motivation behind her actions. As a tall, muscular, wise, and admittedly kinda sexy, transforming alien robot likes to say, there's more to her than meets the eye. While we know of her as the narcissistic, egotistical bully that is incredibly loyal to the company, in the flashback scenes, she's shown to truly care about Tessa. Like I said before, Tessa would rescue discarded worker drones from the scrapyard and give them a home in her mansion. And so when Tessa rescued her, Jay would be eternally grateful and do whatever she could do to repay that act of kindness. Like when she gave Tessa a confidence boost to help with the nervousness of meeting new people, or when she showed genuine concern about Tessa's hurt wrist. Though Jay was still mean to N, it was probably because she was jealous of the fact that he was Tessa's favorite butler drone. Anyways, that leaves us with the question of how Jay went from Tessa's most loyal sidekick to being a secret agent of Sin. I know for a fact that she doesn't like working for that eldritch monstrosity, and only does so because she feels like she has to. The reason why is hinted by what Jay said during her battle with V in episode 8. It tricked you. If I promised you anything, it tricked me too. She also said, you know there's no escape, even in death. And finally, I promise, it's better on the winning team. as a team. On the surface, it seems as though that Jay believes that fighting the Solver is a fruitless endeavor, and that giving into it would be better. Probably because back at the gala, she was taken over by Sin and couldn't do anything except watch as Tessa was killed by that eldritch monstrosity. This would leave Jay with a lot of guilt and a completely broken will, wanting nothing more than to finish the mission so she could be left alone, at least for a while. Another reason she serves Sin is because she is partly Tessa, or at least in the sense that she's fused with the corpse of Tessa. While Jay knows it's not really her, with the way Sin pretends to be Tessa, it's almost like the good old days. However, I would imagine that seeing N and V stand up and fight against the Solver would inspire Jay to do the same, or at least to try to make amends for her actions after Sin's defeat. Unless she feels too guilty about betraying and tricking her friends, or she thinks that Uzi is the Solver and is afraid of getting retribution for losing the last fight. While these explanations do work, I have a theory that would explain Jay's actions a bit better. You see, one of the things Jay said was, "It tricked you. If I promised you anything, it tricked me too." Which means that she was tricked by Sin in some way. The question is how she was tricked. What Jay said could be in reference to the deal they all had, where if they did their jobs, then Sin would leave all of them alone. However, it seems as though Jay always knew that Sin would never leave them alone. So that probably isn't the trick she was talking about. It could also be a reference to how Sin was pretending to be Tessa. So maybe Jay was following orders from who she believed to be her trusted friend. However, she was at the gala and saw Tessa's death. So unless Sin completely wiped her memories, Jay would remember what happened and not fall for that trick either. So what was the trick that Jay was talking about? What exactly happened that made her subservient to Sin and the Solver? Well, I believe it has something to do with the massacre at the gala. In episode 5, there is a scene where Sin is playing with a couple of dolls. I know this doesn't seem the slightest bit important, but there is actually a theory about how what Sin does to the dolls happens to Tessa and her mother throughout the episode. First, she makes them fight each other, which is parallel to the argument Tessa had with her mother about the rescued worker drones. Then she tosses one of the dolls off to the side, which is what she did to Tessa's mother at the beginning of the gala massacre. Finally, she tears off the arm of the remaining doll before fusing it with one of those weird cockroach robot things, foreshadowing Tessa's brutal death and fusion with Sin. However, I have a couple reasons to believe that Sin didn't necessarily kill Tessa herself. First off, I've noticed that the Solver likes to act through proxy, manipulating and using others to do its dirty work until they're no longer needed. Like when it possessed Nori in order to destroy Copper 9, or when it sent disassembly drones to the planet in order to eliminate any potential threats to it. And finally when it possessed Uzi in order to fight N and Nori. The absolute Solver will only act if it's absolutely necessary. And there were plenty of worker drones, including Jay, that Sin had control of that could kill the humans at the gala for her. Secondly, the Solver loves to inflict pain, physically and emotionally. We see this with V. Not only did it experiment on her, it also made her so afraid of it that she would be willing to do horrible things in order to keep herself and N safe from it. The solver tortures N too, performing surgeries and experimenting on him while he was still alive. It also took away Tessa and V, the two people he cared about the most. Then it erased his memories, leaving him as an echo of his former self. Doll and Uzi end up being victims of the solver as well. After losing so much of her life due to the solver, Doll ends up being lured to a trap where it ends up brutally murdering her. Then, while disguised as Tessa, it tries to kill Uzi too. The last person I wanted to mention is Jay. The solver and Sin would definitely want to torture her too. It knows that Tessa's the only person she likes, so killing her would certainly devastate Jay. However, I feel like the solver would want to go further than that. Like it would want to mess up Jay so bad that she wouldn't even want to be happy ever again. Like I said before, the solver likes to act through proxy, and Sin had plenty of worker drones under her control, including Jay. I think you know where I'm going with this. I believe that Jay was the one who killed Tessa. She was tricked into doing so by the solver, who either altered her perception or used a hologram to make Tessa look like Sin. Thus, when the massacre at the gala occurred, Jay would try to save Tessa by stopping Sin. Now, she never liked that creepy robot in the first place, and was more than happy to keep her locked in the basement. So when she saw Sin, in worker drone form, at the gala, orchestrating all the chaos and threatening Tessa, Jay jumped in to fight, being pissed off that Sin would dare lay a finger on Tessa. She would unleash all of her chain-breaking rage in a surprisingly easy-to-win battle. Unfortunately, once the fight was over, Sin would drop the illusion to reveal the horror of her true Eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis form, and also the fact that Jay had actually brutally ripped apart and killed Tessa, not Sin. This would absolutely devastate Jay, leading to her losing the will to live and feeling completely helpless, thus making her subservient to the absolute solver, and even willing to jump into a scary planet hole thingy for it. Basically, Jay serves the absolute solver out of guilt, due to being the one who killed Tessa. She has lost all hope of fighting the solver, and probably feels like she doesn't deserve to be saved. So she hides her pain and misery behind an egotistical, supremacist, loyalist personality and pretends to be happy with helping Sin. But all Jay really wants is to be left alone. Now that we have a better understanding of who we're fighting, I can more accurately predict what happens next. Like I said earlier, when N and V arrive at the corpse spire to save Thad, they will meet heavy resistance from Jay, who plans on leaving Copper 9 in the spaceship she fixed up, and head to a new planet to live on. Only thing is, N and V are not going to let her leave, especially not with Thad. So a fight breaks out between them. Knowing N, he would probably try to reason with Jay and get her to surrender. However, it doesn't initially work and she continues to fight like hell. While they're fighting, Jay will start to reveal some of her secrets, through dialogue like she did in episode 8, which could potentially bring up memories of what happened at the gala, in both N and V, causing them to lose focus and allow Jay to get the upper hand. she'll probably end up pinning V to a wall or the ground using the knight's sword. Then, in a fit of rage, she'll show N exactly what happened to Tessa by making him experience it firsthand. Upon seeing this, V will realize the truth and become highly enraged. She'll either unpin herself, or that will help unpin her. Once she's freed, V will fight with all her might, while J succumbs to her own guilt. Eventually, with Sparky's help, V overpowers her and tries to destroy J's core. However, N stops her from doing so, knowing that J never meant to kill Tessa that day. In forgiving her for something she thought was truly unforgivable is what finally convinces J to join the rest of them and become friends, thus finally reuniting the original Butler trio and saving Thad, though V still has some serious reservations about her. So while the disassembly drone duo were dealing with J, everyone else was dealing with the ghost of Doll that I mentioned earlier. I had said that Doll was now a part of Uzi, and due to the Absolute Solver, she is able to haunt the hallways of Outpost 3. Considering the fact that Uzi is using a holographic projection to hide her true form, I believe that the ghost of Doll is also a hologram, being projected from the same eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis monstrosity that is Uzi. Like I said before, Doll was eaten by Sin, who is then eaten by Uzi. Now I'm not exactly sure what Doll's intention is, but I think it's one of three possibilities. 1. Doll has taken over part of Uzi's eldritch body and is using the hologram as a disguise while eating the other worker drones. Being part of an eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis thing, Doll would probably be consuming other worker drones to help with the problem of overheating. However, I suspect that she may have a more self-fulfilling goal as well. In episode 2, Eldritch J consumes several worker drones to collect matter needed in an attempt to rebuild its original host form, which leads me to believe that Doll could potentially be doing the same thing. After all, she wouldn't want to be trapped inside of Uzi forever, and she still had some unfinished business to take care of before she was unfairly and brutally killed off. So Doll is trying to build herself a new body by consuming the other worker drones. And if she is successful, she would most likely try to take revenge on V and the other disassembly drones for killing her parents, along with Uzi and the Absolute Solver probably believing them to be the same entity for killing and trapping her within themselves. 2. The Absolute Solver is using a hologram of Doll as a disguise while consuming the other worker drones. This tactic would not only help keep Uzi's new eldritch form a secret from everybody else, it would also keep Uzi from finding out about how the Absolute Solver is going behind her back and killing extra worker drones. Everyone would be so focused on the supernatural aspect, believing that Doll's ghost is haunting the bunker, that they wouldn't even consider the possibility of an eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis monstrosity being behind the disappearances. Which makes me wonder, why would the Absolute Solver be trying to consume more worker drones? And why it hides this from Uzi as well? Now there is the problem of overheating. This is shown to us in episode 5 when Sin was drinking machine oil she collected from killing those cockroach-like mini-bots. However, it seems like Uzi already has the whole overheating issue under control, so it seems doubtful to be the Absolute Solver's intent. Plus, Sin could have been drinking machine oil for the pleasure of it. Instead, I believe that the Absolute Solver has been consuming worker drones in order to collect their matter and add it to the mass of the eldritch Sinti-worm crab mantis thing she inhabits with Uzi. Basically, the Absolute Solver is assimilating worker drones in order to make itself and Uzi more powerful. That way, when it convinces Uzi to, it'll be easier to destroy the remaining survivors in the bunker. Or just like I said earlier with Doll, the Solver could be trying to create its own body in order to leave Uzi. While I'm pretty sure that it can't survive on its own due to not having a drone core, it could recreate its previous host, Sin, who could have also been trapped within Uzi when she consumed the Singularity core. Or, since it already has control of her, the Solver could recreate Doll instead, thus making her the next host of the Absolute Solver, the thing that she was most afraid of becoming. Now I will say that I personally believe that the Absolute Solver will stay within Uzi. For one thing, it follows the narrative theme of Uzi slowly succumbing to the will of the Absolute Solver. It wouldn't make sense to tease and build up Uzi becoming the next main villain, only to jump ship and have someone else take that role instead. Though the Murder Drone series is known for subverting expectations in pretty neat ways. Now I do have another reason why the Absolute Solver will stay within Uzi, but that is something I will discuss in another video. All I can say is, I am 90% sure that the Absolute Solver will stay within Uzi and try to corrupt her. Also, there's a chance in this scenario that Doll is controlling the hologram, but her mind has been twisted and corrupted by the Solver, thus making her an unfortunate puppet to it. 3. A combination of the previous two. While the Absolute Solver is hunting for worker drones to consume, Doll will use her hologram to scare away any potential targets in an attempt to save their lives. She may also try to warn the others about the fact that Uzi is an eldritch monster, but there is only so much that she can do, and all of her efforts will end up getting misinterpreted as cryptic messages from a restless, vengeful spirit. Though I do believe that Nori, due to her relationship with Doll's mother Yiva, would be able to understand the messages and find out about Uzi's eldritch secret. Even though she tried to kill our murder drone trio several times, Doll always had a noble intention: to stop the Absolute Solver from destroying herself and everyone she cares about. In this way, Doll continues her fight against the Absolute Solver, even after her death. So basically, the three possibilities are Doll using the holograms to take revenge, Doll being used as a puppet for the Absolute Solver, or Doll using the holograms to fight against the Absolute Solver. Regardless of which possibility it is, the end result is the same. Uzi perceives the ghost Doll as a threat to everyone's safety and her own relationships with everybody else. So she decides to deal with the ghost of Doll. The Absolute Solver suggests that Uzi use the Absolute Solver hive mind to reset Doll's memories and make her more docile, thus keeping her trapped within the hive mind and preventing her from creating any more holograms. While she may initially refuse to proceed with this course of action, the spread of fear and paranoia from the hauntings will leave Uzi no other choice than to reset Doll. With Doll subdued and Jay captured, Uzi's main problems are solved. However, there will certainly be some repercussions from the whole ordeal. For one thing, once everyone realizes that Doll was actually a part of Uzi, any chance that she had at being accepted by her classmates will be absolutely out the window. She had already been treated like a weirdo outcast, but the ghost doll incident will definitely make her pariah. Another one is, Uzi will lose the trust of almost all of her friends and family. The newest member of the team, Jay, will warn everyone about how the solver would be able to trick them, thus causing everyone, including N, to become even more suspicious of Uzi. At this point, Nori is already suspicious of her, and will eventually find out that she is an eldritch scented worm crab mantis thingy. Like I said before, because Yiva was her best friend, Nori would actually try to help Doll. Whether she tries to give Doll what she wants, or attempt to put her spirit to rest, Nori will start to communicate with Doll, and in doing so, learn that she is trapped within Uzi. Nori also has access to her own Absolute Solver system. She will use her solver in order to detect the holographic illusion Uzi uses to hide her true form. These revelations will make Nori even more suspicious of her than she might have been before, thus putting serious strain on the relationship between them. After Doll's defeat, Nori will confront Uzi about everything she learned, leading to an unfortunate falling out between the two of them. This would definitely devastate Uzi, as her mom was like a hero to her, the person she looked up to the most, and to be accused of being a monster by her own mother would be severely detrimental to Uzi's mental health and push her further under the Absolute Solver's influence. Afterwards, Nori will start trying to warn everybody about Uzi's true eldritch form, and how she believes that the Absolute Solver is pretending to be Uzi. Meanwhile, Uzi decides to reinvent herself. Whether intentional or not, she had based her own personality on her mother's. Now that Uzi and her mother are on less than friendly terms, she will want to become as different from Nori as possible. So she decides to change everything about herself, from what she wears to how she acts. Uzi will go from the dark, edgy, emo, secluded teen that we know and love to a more lighthearted, positive, outgoing person. Basically, she'll emulate Tessa's personality, or at least attempt to anyway. Probably because N talked about how much he loved and cared about her. However, just like Sen, she wouldn't be entirely successful though. To Nori, it would look like the Absolute Solver dropped its disguise of Uzi and is pretending to be like Tessa. Like I said before, Nori will try to warn everybody about Uzi's eldritch secret, including Khan, V, Lizzie, Thad, and N. Knowing Khan, he'll probably believe Nori when she tells him that Uzi is now just a disguise for the Absolute Solver. Due to the amount of small changes she noticed within her, V would begin to question if it wasn't all just a trick of the Absolute Solver. It would be the combination of Jay and Nori's warnings, along with Uzi's complete personality change, that finally convinces V that her suspicions were right. While she may act like a typical popular, rich, apathetic, blonde, teenage cheerleader girl, deep down within, Lizzie actually does care about her friends. She did throw a memorial party for Doll after all, and the only reason why she betrayed Doll in episode 3 was because V was way hotter than her, apparently. Though I personally believe that Doll is way hotter than V. But let's agree to disagree, Lizzie. Anyways, I'm pretty sure once she learns about Doll being trapped within Uzi and what she did to defeat her, Lizzie would want to expose Uzi and ruin what little bit is left of her reputation. Or more specifically, just ruin her chance of regaining any reputation. She may even work with Nori in order to try to defeat Uzi, or she will just do her own thing in order to get back at her. Either way, Lizzie has something special planned just for Uzi at the upcoming event. At some point, V, J, and Nori will try to convince N to help them take down Uzi before she does something terrible. However, he'll initially refuse, believing that Uzi wouldn't be acting this way if it weren't for the others accusing her of being and treating her like a monster. Which he's mostly right about that. He will be conflicted though, torn between his promise to never abandon Uzi and the feeling of deja vu from when he was with Sin. I'm planning on doing a deep dive on N's character arc and backstory, but that would be for a future video. Now let's discuss something that happened to N and V, something they forgot about. Something that, if remembered, would cause V and possibly even N to turn against Uzi. You see, back in episode 8, right after consuming the Singularity Core, Uzi ends up blacking out. Before she does though, we see N and V in fast approach, coming to her aid. Yet when she wakes up, they are nowhere nearby. Also, the entire geography around her has changed. The giant hole in the planet Sin made is now a giant scar in the shape of the absolute solver symbol. So, what happened? Well, like I said before, when Uzi consumed the Singularity Core, she died. Then the absolute solver took complete control over her and attempted to finish consuming the planet along with everything on it. However, for some reason, it was unable to do so, thus forcing the solver to close the hole and go dormant. I think the reason this happened is because the absolute solver needed Uzi's corroboration in order to complete the task it wanted. And since she was unavailable at the moment, it was forced to cancel the task and undo it to the best of its abilities. Or when the solver first integrated with Uzi, an automatic reset process was initiated. This would undo everything the solver was doing to Copper 9 and put it into a dormant state, ready to be activated and commanded by Uzi. Though there's a possibility that this function destroyed or consumed everything within the immediate vicinity of her. Either way, Sin died and the matter collection program she was running died with her. Since Uzi is the new system administrator, she's the only one who can restart the matter collection program. This is probably the main reason that the solver is manipulating Uzi, so that way it could get her corroboration in order to finish consuming Copper 9. So what does any of this have to do with N and V? Well, they were right next to Uzi when she passed out and fell under the control of the Absolute Solver, thus putting them in range of the Solver's matter collection program. Also, this was probably when Uzi first transformed into the eldritch Sinti-worm crab mantis monstrosity that she currently is. Obviously, the Solver wouldn't want any witnesses to everything that just happened, so it would consume both N and V and then create copies of them without the memories of the whole ordeal, thus keeping its secrets safe, although snippets of what happened could resurface like the memories of the Gala massacre. So essentially, Uzi died, the Solver took over, ate N and V, attempted to eat the planet, failed, fixed the planet to the best of its abilities, then created clones of N and V, so Uzi wouldn't suspect a thing, thus setting things up for it to begin manipulating her. Eventually, N and V will remember what really happened, due to the fact that unlike Sin, Uzi doesn't use the Solver hive mind to lobotomize them on a daily basis. Though I'm sure the Solver would have suggested she do so at some point, Uzi genuinely cares about them and wouldn't manipulate either of them like that. So over time, N is going to start to have small flashbacks and potentially nightmares of Uzi transforming into an eldritch abomination and then consuming him. He'll talk with V about his nightmares, in which she'll reveal that she's been having them too. This makes N consider the possibility that his nightmare was actually a real memory, though he won't truly believe so. Anyways, Uzi will probably sense N's mental conflict, and she might know a little about his nightmares too. So the Solver suggests that Uzi used a hive mind to find out what's troubling N so much. When she does though, she'll find out just how much he suspects her. This would probably be the moment Uzi finds out what the Solver did right after she consumed the Singularity Core. However, due to her own fear of losing N, along with everything else that already happened, Uzi will try to erase the moment from his memory, only for it to backfire. Thus, N ends up remembering exactly what happened that day, and combined with the fact that she tried to erase his memory, he would come to believe that Uzi has been consumed by the Absolute Solver. Since there is no way to save her, N has no other choice than to try to kill her mercifully before she ends up hurting V or any of his other friends. Even if I'm wrong about what happened, or he doesn't remember what happened, N would still come to the same conclusion once he sees what Uzi does during the climactic finale. Okay, let's pause here for a second. While I was in the middle of working on my video, Glitch released a Murder Drones music video. It's called Fight Till I'm Good Enough, and you've probably seen a little bit of it sprinkled throughout this video. Anyways, while the release of this music video threw a wrench in my plan, it does have some lore to discuss. Now the video itself is mostly about N, and how he's trying to prove himself to Uzi's parents while also dealing with one of Sin's pranks. So there's not a lot in this music video that relates to this theory, but we do learn some things. We learn that it's been nearly a year since the finale, as the events of the music video take place during the 3032 prom. Also, nobody seems to be suspicious of Uzi in the slightest. Khan and Nori are overprotective of her. V is still begrudgingly friendly to her. Thad is still super supportive of her. Lizzie is still Lizzie, and N loves her with all of his heart. So it seems that I was wrong about people suspecting something was up with Uzi, though I still believe that suspicion will arise during or after the ghost doll incident. Finally, due to all the interactions Uzi had with everyone and everything around her, it doesn't seem like she's a hologram after all. However, back in episode 2, there was a scene where a worker drone was interacting with a coffee cup, only for it to turn out to be a hologram. So it's possible that Uzi really is a hologram, even with all the evidence hinting otherwise. Hell, she even drank out of the holographic coffee cup. So if a hologram can be drank, then everything else should be a cakewalk. Anyways, while the video itself doesn't give us that much lore, the lyrics most certainly do. You may think that the song is about N, since he's the focus of the video, but in reality, the song is actually about Uzi, as evidenced by the meaning of the verses and the song being sang mostly by Elsie Lovelock. The lines, "I see the way they look at me and see what I couldn't be, the one who's good enough, as simple as I was born to be, in perfect conformity like all the others," references how she was treated like a weirdo outcast by her classmates and even her own father before the events of the series. The next lines, "But since you ripped the world I had in two, I was broken, rearranged beyond the life I thought I knew. It feels so damn strange," references when Uzi met N and started dealing with the Absolute Solver afterwards. Then the lines, "I know that I'm more than you bargained for, I'm not some story's hero. Won't give up and give them a good excuse to write me off like a weirdo. Show the ones who doubt me that I'm not the loser they thought. Got nothing left to lose, just gotta prove that I'm good enough. I'll fight till I'm good enough, I'll fight till I'm good enough," are referencing how Uzi feels like a burden on N, but she won't stop fighting till she's good enough for him. After this, the all too familiar female robotic voice of Sin has its own rap segment. "Can you hear it? The drums of war. Do you fear it? The future you're unprepared for. Within you, an evil capacity. It has a name, it has a voice, it's me. I feel your suffering, I feel your buffering. As I grow stronger within her, this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper. Nothing, and you will always be nothing. Ask yourself if I am bluffing. Ask yourself if you're good enough. The answer is no. I am the voice inside your head that says they're safer if you're dead. 'Cause every iota of data says there will be a day that you kill everyone you love instead." This whole segment is basically just Sin gloating about how she'll one day kill everyone and destroy Copper 9 by influencing Uzi to do so. Finally, we get a repeat of the lines, "I know that I'm more than you bargained for, I'm not some story's hero. Won't give up and give them a good excuse to write me off like a weirdo. Show the ones who doubt me that I'm not the loser they thought. Got nothing left to lose, just gotta prove that I'm good enough. I'll fight till I'm good enough. I'll fight till I'm good enough." Which is Uzi's comeback against the Solver, and her resolve to keep fighting till she's good enough for N. So essentially, The whole song is about Uzi's resolve to fight against her classmates' views about her and the influence of the absolute solver in order to be good enough for N. However, the solver is persistent, patient, and cunning, with Uzi already feeling insecure and not good enough for N due to being turned into an eldritch crab mantis Sinti-worm monstrosity. It's only a matter of time before something happens that allows Sin to fully influence her. That something being the ghost doll incident, which will cause her to start falling under the influence of the absolute solver. Anyways, moving on. Oh wait, there's another music video that just released. It's the full version of Forever. So you know what that means. Another song breakdown. Now there's really not a whole lot to the video itself except for one really important scene that I will discuss later, as it's just Sin dancing at the base of the corpse spire. The lyrics, on the other hand, contains plenty of lore to discuss. I still believe that the song is about Uzi and her relationship with N, except for the Tessis Migrate Despair segment, and the full version adds on to this idea. We've already covered the part of the song that plays during the end credits sequence. And when the ice sets in, I'll need you. If only when we met, we knew you. And then our time concludes, and far beyond the stars we flew forever. Tell myself I lost my soul for you. Gone thereafter, see you never. And we came to the conclusion that it symbolizes how the relationship between N and Uzi will last forever, but with some sort of caveat or catch. The next lines, hold on, are we forgotten, are we old news? Please can we hold on? Could be referencing Uzi's fear of being forgotten along with N, and her plea to not let go and fade from memory. The next line, I can't remember when I knew you, we've fallen out of touch, could mean that there will be a falling out between Uzi and N, eventually leading to her forgetting a lot about him. Then the line after that, no hope to heal me, back down on earth I'm lonely, is referencing how the falling out with N will affect Uzi, taking her from flying among the stars with him and bringing her back down to Earth, thus making her lonely and hopeless. Then we get a line in a deep scratching voice, guess that's the blessing I was dealt. Since the voice is different, I'm pretty sure that this is a different character singing. And since this new singer calls Uzi's loneliness and desperation a blessing, I'll assume it's the solver singing, as the solver would definitely want Uzi to feel alone and desperate, so it could more easily influence her. Afterwards, we get the line, I'll take my time and slumber in the grave you offer, which could be Uzi accepting her situation and possibly even death. Though I'm starting to doubt if these lines belong to Uzi after all. Then we get the line, but we won't dance around the truth this time, and if we can't be heard, then far into the sun we burn forever. Which is most likely a reference to some sort of lie or secret. And I can definitely think of a certain eldritch secret that this could apply to. Basically, this is most likely Uzi revealing her secret to N, and then the potential fiery consequence from doing so. Then this line, lay myself to rest my soul for you, is another reference to death and moving on to the afterlife. So this could potentially be Uzi dying for N's sake. Or this could be somebody else instead. Afterwards, we get a repeat of the line, gone thereafter, see you never, which I believe has the same meaning as before, in either being too late or not there at all to save the ones he loves the most. Then we cut to a sequence where we see a tape being inserted into a stereo. This tape is called My Great Despair by Tessa. Before the tape actually plays though, we once again hear the deep scratching voice say this line, "Guess that's the curse that I so desired." While it's easy to assume that this line relates to the previous few lines, based on the fact that this line is placed right before Tessa's song, I believe that the curse that is so desired is actually the great despair that Tessa feels. Anyways, Tessa's My Great Despair begins with a deep voice, possibly the solver since it sang those other two lines, singing these lines. As mother rips gods from the throne, carbonized corpse from the ashes, makeshift fuel from the bones, synchronized death of the masses. Based on the mention of gods and death of the masses, I believe this is hinting at the origin of the absolute solver. But I will discuss this more in another theory video. After the deep voice stops singing, Tessa sings these lines. So why do I feel like I'm alone in this? Suffer in the ice I missed. Which is basically just Tessa being completely alone due to the fact that nobody knows that she's still alive, trapped within the hive mind of the solver. The last line is also a reference to the first line of the song, and when the ice sets in, I'll need you. Anyways, the solver then answers back, I think you should be grateful. So it seems that the solver thinks that by killing her and fusing with her corpse, it had actually helped Tessa. Obviously, the truth is quite the opposite. Then Tessa sings these lines, Please pardon me, I beg to rest. It's my destiny to rot, my great decay. So send me on my way, I'm empty. I'll settle in the earth around me. Fertilize the ash with care, gentle in my great despair. This is Tessa begging to be let go, to be put to rest, so that way she won't be suffering anymore. Finally, the last lines Tessa sings are, So this is my goodbye, I'm sorry. I should have never made you worry. I'll leave a little note that says, See you in the stars, my friend. I've said before that the stars are a representation of the afterlife. So Tessa is basically saying goodbye and hopes to see her friends in the afterlife. After Tessa's final line, we get a voiceless sequence of great importance, which I'll discuss a little bit later. Then we get the line, We can see tomorrow, but there's something buried deep that's never okay. This is most likely a reference to Uzi and N, with Uzi stating that they could be together, but there's something inside her that won't let her be happy. That something is most likely Tessa and her great despair. This single line actually helps explain the whole song. it wasn't about Uzi N and the Solver, it was about Uzi N and Tessa. With the Solver sprinkled in, of course. You see, Uzi consumed the singularity and everyone trapped within it, including Doll and Tessa. So Tessa is trapped within Uzi alongside Doll, and this song is being sang by both Uzi and Tessa. The first segment, the part played during the end credits sequence, was sang by Uzi, but she would occasionally refer to herself as we. So Tessa was probably there in the back of Uzi's mind, singing along with her. Then the second segment, from Hold On to the second Go Thereafter, See You Never, was mostly Tessa with a little bit of Uzi mixed in, as evidenced by some of the lyrics referencing being forgotten, earth, a grave, and the resting of a soul. The My Great Despair segment was sang entirely by Tessa, with a tiny bit of Solver mixed in, as evidenced by the mentions of being alone, suffering, begging to rest, earth again, and the by Tessa Elliott at the beginning of the segment. And this final segment is once again sang by Uzi, with Tessa partly there in the background, as evidenced by the implication of a relationship which Uzi and N are definitely in one. Anyways, the next line we hear is, "We could live our youth, but nothing stays the same, change everything." Which is a reference to how both Uzi and N were changed by the Solver, thus prematurely ending their childhood. It's also a reference to how Tessa was killed by the Solver when she was still a child, and then assimilated into the Solver hive mind, thus changing everything in her life. The line after that, "Kid myself, I need my soul for you," once again references how Uzi lost her soul, and now she's saying she needs her soul in order to be with N. The final line, "Gone thereafter, see you forever," is a callback to the other two times the line, "Gone thereafter, see you never," was used. Once by Uzi, then again by Tessa. It's also a reference to the line, "See you in the stars, my friend," where Tessa implies that she'll see N in the afterlife. So I believe that by saying "see you forever" instead of "see you never," both Tessa and Uzi are claiming that they'll meet N in the afterlife to be with him forever. In essence, the whole song Forever is about the suffering and despair of both Uzi and Tessa due to the absolute Solver, with Uzi being the one who wants to hold on and continue living in the hopes that she'll one day be free of the Solver, along with Tessa, who simply wants to move on and be put to rest so she can finally find peace. With their intentions and feelings constantly clashing, they are making each other suffer. The song is basically a battle of willpower, as the lines seem to be a blend of Uzi's yearn for love and freedom, along with Tessa's yearn for rest and peace. Sometimes, Uzi ends up overshadowing Tessa. Other times, Tessa pushes through and is heard. In the end, there's only one person who can truly solve this dilemma, and he's got quite the difficult choice to make. So that's the meaning of the lyrics, but we still have the actual video to discuss as well. While it may seem like nothing more than Sin dancing at the base of the corpse spire, there's actually a few things we can learn from this music video. First of all, at a couple points in the video, we see 4 stars flash in the night sky. Once after the first line, and when the ice sets in, I'll need you. Then again after the second line, if only when we met, we knew you. And one final time after the line, hold on, are we forgotten, are we old news? While they seem to be nothing more than a visual complement to the tune that plays after these lines, I believe that the stars are actually a representation of something important. So what do these stars represent? Well, for a split second at the beginning of the video, and after the song is over, we're shown a drawing by Liam Vickers. This drawing is of Sin holding 4 plushies: Uzi, N, V, and a bay-headed J, which most likely means that the stars are a representation of the 4 of them, as they are still connected to Sin through the Absolute Solver. Nori also has the solver, but her version was patched, thus eliminating her connection with Sin. The drawing also shows how Sin views the others, as they are nothing but toys to her, puppets to be played with and manipulated by her, without any regard for their feelings. And she continues to do so even after death. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Sin and her diabolical boogie. I find it odd that despite the complete and utter defeat, Sin seems absolutely ecstatic. Here she is, trapped within Uzi's mind, yet she's dancing around and jumping with joy. But why? Well, in the Fight Till I'm Good Enough song, Sin sings these lines. Within you an evil capacity. It has a name, it has a voice, it's me. She also sang, as I grow stronger within her, this is the way the world ends. And finally, I am the voice inside your head that says they're safer if you're dead. 'Cause every iota of data says there'll be a day that you kill everyone you love instead. As I had said before, Sin is gloating that she will influence Uzi to kill her loved ones and then destroy Copper 9. There's also the drawing of Sin with the 4 plushies of Uzi, N, V, and J. Now if you look closely, you'll notice that all of them have the same human skin and yellow X eyes as Sin. This alludes to the fact that not only are they still connected with the Absolute Solver, but also the possibility that any one of them could end up becoming the next version of Sin. Whether by influencing Uzi to become just like her, or one of the other 3 kill Uzi and consume the Singularity Core, Sin will be reborn stronger than ever. And that is why Sin was absolutely ecstatic during the Forever song. 'Cause in the end, she truly is inevitable. One more thing before I discuss Tessa's part of the music video. While Sin is dancing at the base of the corpse spire, the background changes a few times. We start off with a purple night sky, with green and purple streetlights at the base of the corpse spire. The sky turns green shortly after. Now the purple-green coloring is most likely a reference to the times that Sin's eyes glitch out and we see a purple-green hue in her yellow eyes. This happens several times throughout the series. When we get the line, "But we won't dance around the truth this time, and if we can't be heard, then far into the sun we burn forever," the background changes. First, we see a bunch of glowing light orbs. Then the whole background starts to glow a warm orange hue. While this could just be a reference to the line that was sung, there's a possibility that the light orbs are actually the consciousness or souls of the humans or worker drones who were assimilated into the Solver hive mind. The fact that the light orbs look like stars could be referencing the idea that the stars are the afterlife, with each star being its own individual spirit, just like the 4 stars that represent Uzi, N, V, and J. After this scene, Tessa's segment begins. I won't get into it just yet, but I will say that the snowy graveyard definitely captures the cold loneliness that Tessa is surely feeling. Anyways, when Tessa's segment ends, we cut back to Sin dancing at the base of the corpse spire. Now, the sun is rising and she is surrounded by butterflies, which could be a reference to the saying about butterflies in your stomach and being in love. Obviously, the love being represented by the butterflies is the love between Uzi and N, which matches with the lyrics about seeing tomorrow together and living out our youth together. However, I suspect there may be another meaning to the butterflies. Just like the light orbs I mentioned earlier, the butterflies are potentially the spirits of those trapped within the Absolute Solver hive mind, with the light orbs being worker drones, due to just about all of them, being exactly the same, while the butterflies are human souls, because there are 2 different types of butterflies that most likely represent the 2 different genders humans have. Anyways, now that I'm done with the backgrounds, we can finally discuss the most important part of this music video. My Great Despair by Tessa. I've already covered the lyrics and how they represent Tessa's longing for her soul to be put to rest. However, something incredibly important happens during this segment of the music video. It begins with a tape being inserted into a VHS player, and then we got a shot slowly zooming in on the TV while the tape starts playing. Now most of the video is Tessa walking through the snow-covered graveyard before collapsing to the ground and crawling towards a grave with a symbol of the Absolute Solver on it. But then, when the lyrics end, we zoom back out of the TV to see Tessa reaching for the screen. After a few moments of struggling, she manages to push her hand through the screen of the TV, and then we cut back to Sin doing the diabolical boogie. So what was that? What's the meaning behind Tessa's hand coming out of the TV? Well, if you look closely, you'll see that her hand has the same glitchy, shadowy aesthetic as the Ghost of Doll. That's right, the ghost of Doll. Basically, just like Doll, Tessa has found a way to take control over part of Uzi's eldritch, senti-worm, crab mantis body in order to create a ghostly hologram. Unlike Doll, however, I am absolutely certain of Tessa's intentions. As I had said before, Tessa simply wants her soul to be laid to rest. But the only way to do that, as far as I know of, is to destroy the Singularity Core. She may also want to destroy the Singularity Core in order to free the other millions or billions of humans and worker drones trapped within the Absolute Solver. However, Tessa can't do it alone. So she'll enlist the help of her three most trusted friends, J, N, and V. Remember when I said that N, V, and maybe Sparky too would go after J in order to save Thad before he becomes lunch? Remember when I said that the resulting fight would reveal how J was the one who killed Tessa? And remember how I said that they would all reconcile after this fight? Well, now that Tessa's ghost is part of the equation, I have a better idea at how this reconciliation actually happens. When Jay succumbs to her guilt, it isn't N that stops V from killing her, but actually Tessa. Although N would be willing to forgive J for killing Tessa, knowing she was tricked into doing so by the Solver, it would be Tessa's forgiveness that finally convinces J to join back with the rest of them. After all, wouldn't it ease your guilt if the ghost of the person you killed forgave you for the crime? Now that Tessa has all three of her best friends back, she'll finally be able to achieve her goal with their help. Which, just like I said a little bit ago, is to destroy the Singularity Core in order to free her own soul along with everyone else's. Unfortunately for N, that means they're going to have to kill Uzi in order to do so. Now, N did promise Uzi that he would never abandon or hurt her. And even though she may have been acting differently lately, and he might be having nightmares about her turning into an eldritch, crab mantis senti-worm monstrosity, I doubt it would be enough to make N break his promise to Uzi. I know, I said that N's dreams about Uzi would lead to a falling out between the two of them. But now that Tessa's in the picture, I believe she'll have a hand in Uzi's downfall. The dreams about what happened that day, after Uzi consumed the Singularity Core, won't be as prevalent as I had hinted at. If anything, it could simply be a vision shown by the ghost of Doll. Back in episode 3, Doll showed V the memory of her parents' death using the Solver. So I'm pretty sure that the ghost of Doll would be able to do the same thing. But instead of showing one of her own memories to V, she would show what really happened when Uzi consumed the Singularity Core, which would probably be what makes V suspect or even fear Uzi, thus starting the breakdown of their friendship. As for N, Ghost Doll will probably show this vision to him as well. However, N might not believe it to be true. At least, not enough to be willing to hurt or kill Uzi. Basically, I still believe that my theory about what happened when Uzi consumed the Singularity Core is true. But I don't think that N and V will just randomly remember what happened, or will have constant nightmares about it. Instead, I believe Doll will show both of them what happened in a vision, which will cause V to distrust Uzi completely, but won't quite work on N. However, it will be a contributing factor to a decision he has to make. So when asked by Tessa to kill Uzi in order to destroy the Singularity Core, N will initially be hesitant to do so. But the combined factors of small changes in Uzi, the vision shown by Doll, Jay's warning about the solver tricking her, and the fact that billions of souls are trapped within the absolute solver, including Tessa's, will finally convince N to turn against Uzi. Whether he believes Uzi is still herself or not, N would be willing to kill her only for the sake of putting Tessa's soul to rest. He may choose Uzi over the universe, but he will not let Tessa suffer for the rest of eternity for her. And that is the end of the music videos. Fight Till I'm Good Enough and Forever. With Fight Till I'm Good Enough being about Uzi's struggle against the solver in order to be with N, and Forever being about Uzi's struggle with Tessa's soul, along with the possibility of N betraying her. So yeah, I was wrong about everyone being suspicious of Uzi, and about the reason why N would turn on her. In fact, the only reason I kept those parts in the video was to purposely mislead you and waste your time. Haha, get pranked. In the end, it wouldn't be the Eldritch secret, or fear for his friend's safety, or deja vu from his time with Sin that would make N turn on Uzi. It would be Tessa, and her plea for the eternal nightmare to finally end. Oh, and the part about Nori confronting Uzi, thus causing a falling out between the two of them, bogus. I changed my mind about that. After thinking it over, I don't believe that Nori would be so reckless as to have a confrontation with Uzi and potentially get herself, along with everyone else in the outpost, killed because of it. Instead, after finding out the truth about Uzi, she will covertly gather up the rest of the primary side characters to formulate a plan to deal with her. While NVJ and the ghost of Tessa arrive back at Outpost 3 in order to find a way to kill Uzi and destroy the Singularity Core. Obviously, they can't go in guns blazing. With how powerful she is, Uzi would easily turn our disassembly drone trio into a pile of scrap. So they pretend that everything's fine, and hopefully manage to hide Tessa from her. Then they meet up with Nori and join her group, thus creating the Murder Drone Gang, which consists of Khan, Nori, Thad, Lizzie, NVJ, the ghost of Tessa, and let's not forget about Sparky, along with that weird gold cricket robot thing as well. But even with all of them together, there's still no match against Uzi. Not only does she have the souls and willpower of billions of humans and worker drones, she's also an eldritch Centiworm crab mantis monstrosity, which is, as shown in episode 2, impervious to all forms of ballistic damage. The best you could do is stun it or slow it down with heavy firepower. You could potentially use some sort of really big magnet as well. The only thing that was able to destroy Eldritch J was Uzi's sick as hell railgun. And I'm pretty sure that the murder drone gang will use it in an attempt to destroy Uzi along with the Singularity Core. However, they'll need a plan to do so. The gang will need a way to see Uzi's true form, so that way they can target and destroy it. Luckily, there's a way to see past the hologram and reveal what's real. Back in episode 7, when Nori escapes her confinement, the scientists turn on a set of floodlights that reveal the invisible eldritch limbs coming from her. The lights also burn the eldritch limbs in a way similar to the sun burning the disassembly and solver drones. If the murder drone gang can get their hands on some of these floodlights, then they could be an effective weapon against Uzi. Although even without the floodlights, she would still reveal her true form when she realizes what everyone is trying to do. Anyways, with a weapon to destroy her and potentially a way to see her true self, all that's left to do is to find the right place to enact their plan. They can't start the confrontation within a random room or hallway because they'll need a lot of room to dodge and fight. Also, there will be a bunch of worker drones in these areas that could get killed in the battle. They can't take Uzi outside either, cause she would be able to spread her Eldritch Sentiworm Crab Mantis body out enough that the railgun wouldn't be able to destroy it. So the murder drone gang will need to find a place big enough for everyone to move around freely, but not so big that Eldritch Uzi would be able to dodge the railgun shot. Now, there is one place they can lure Uzi to, the evacuation route seen at the end of episode 1. But doing so would have made her suspicious and on guard, which they can't afford to take a chance like that, so the evacuation route is a no-go. The only other place that our murder drone gang could lure Uzi to without arousing her suspicion would be the auditorium. However, asking Uzi to meet them in an empty auditorium would probably raise her suspicion as well. So they'll either wait for an upcoming event, like the 3033 prom, or Lizzie could set up a party to celebrate some random thing, and then confront Uzi at that party. On the upside, she wouldn't be as on edge as she would be in other circumstances, but on the downside, there will be a lot of other worker drones within the auditorium as well. So the gang will be banking on the hope that the floodlights and the overwhelming firepower of the disassembly drone trio will keep Uzi at bay, thus preventing any of the worker drones at the event from dying. Now a plan is coming together. All they need is time to set everything up. While Lizzie and Thad get the party prepared, everyone else will play a high-stakes game of pretend, which will go mostly well with only a few moments of nervousness shown by the group, leaving Uzi only just a little bit suspicious. When Thad and Lizzie finish the preparations for the party, the murder drone gang get ready to set their plan in motion. So here we are, nearing the end. On one hand, we have the murder drone gang and their plan to kill Uzi in order to stop the absolute solver once and for all. And on the other hand, we have Uzi trying her best to live a normal, happy life with her friends and family in spite of being the host of the Singularity Corps. However, due to recent events, she's starting to wonder if it's actually worth all the effort, as she's noticing a change in how all of her close friends and family are acting around her. And now, the climactic finale. Everyone has arrived to the party, including Uzi and the Murder Drone Gang. With everyone and everything in place, the plan is set into motion. First, Uzi is invited up to the stage, either to be crowned prom queen of the 3033 prom, or to be honored for defeating the ghost of Doll. Whatever the case is, Uzi will be invited up to the stage where the trap is set. Next, our Murder Drone Gang will activate the special floodlights that I mentioned earlier, thus revealing Uzi's true Eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis body. At this moment, the other worker drones will start to be evacuated out of the auditorium by the gang, while En and Tessa try to convince Uzi to sacrifice herself in order to destroy the Singularity Core. They say that by letting the core be destroyed, she'll finally find peace and happiness. Uzi doesn't see it that way though. All she ever wanted was to live the rest of her life with people who loved and accepted her. So having all her close friends and family turn against her because of a ghost or two will do more than just piss her off. It would absolutely enrage her. Now, with no one else to depend on, Uzi will embrace the solver and fall fully under its influence. Whether her mind has melded with Sin's, or if she's just doing what the solver says now, the version of Uzi that we know and love is now truly gone, and replaced by a new evil, monstrous version that we will call Absolute Uzi, or AU for short. Afterwards, Absolute Uzi will try to kill and consume everyone within the auditorium. However, the combination of the floodlights, along with the overwhelming firepower of the disassembly drone trio, will hold her back and allow the rest of the worker drones to escape. Then, the Murder Drone Gang will move on to the next part of the plan. While AU is distracted, Khan will use the sick-as-hell railgun to destroy her along with the Singularity Core. Unfortunately, what we saw of Absolute Uzi in the auditorium was only a small part of her. As it turns out, AU actually stands for Absolute Unit, and her whole Eldritch Centiworm Crab Mantis body was strewn across the entirety of Outpost 3. A part of her was in every hallway, every room, and even outside the outpost. This fact becomes insanely obvious when Absolute Uzi starts tearing the auditorium apart from the outside. So it seems like the Murder Drone Gang is absolutely fucked. Not only that, but Absolute Uzi will restart the Matter Collection program that was consuming Copper-9, thus beginning the destruction of the planet once again. Also, AU will trap Tessa within the deep recesses of the Absolute Solver hive mind once again, thus preventing her from interfering anymore. So the Murder Drone Gang come up with a new plan. Find the core and then destroy it. Obviously, the core wasn't in the auditorium, so they'll have to search throughout the outpost in order to find it. Though they don't have a lot of time due to the fact that both the outpost and the planet are being destroyed. Luckily, whether N remembers it from the time he fought Eldritch J or Nori got a hint from Doll's ghost, the murder drone gang will head to the cryosleep room in order to find Absolute Uzi's core. They'll meet heavy resistance on the way though, as Absolute Uzi will be doing everything she can to prevent them from reaching the cryosleep room, while also killing and consuming all the other worker drones within the outpost. When they reach the cryosleep room, they'll find that Absolute Uzi's core is indeed here. Now remember what I said about this solver trying to change Uzi into a new version of Sin? Starting with small things, like putting a bow on top of her head, then graduating to more integral things, like how she dealt with Doll's ghost. Well, since Uzi no longer has the support of her friends and family, the solver would be able to fully change her into the next Sin. However, Uzi's personality wasn't the only thing the solver changed. When our intrepid murder drone gang come across the core, they'll find it within Uzi's old body, which is now the head of the eldritch centiworm crab mantis monstrosity that she currently is, just like Sin was from episode 5. However, instead of wearing the awesome purple hair and cool edgy jacket, Absolute Uzi will be wearing the skin of our beloved Tessa. She has finally completed the transformation the solver wanted, in both personality and appearance. Now if you're wondering where in the hell did AU get Tessa's dead body from, don't. You see, back in episode 7, we see both Doll and Uzi bleed actual human blood due to the solver's infection. So I'm willing to bet that Absolute Uzi grew Tessa's skin around her body instead of finding it. Anyways, when the murder drone gang come face to face with the horror that is Absolute Uzi's core, they attempt to destroy her using the sick as hell railgun. Unfortunately, it's still recharging from the last time it was used. So N, V, J, Nori, Thad, Lazy, and maybe Sparky too, along with that weird gold cricket robot thing, fight to protect Khan while the railgun recharges. Now in these types of situations, somebody always ends up dying. It's basic movie logic 101, and in this instance, the most likely to die would be Khan. Not only is his character arc pretty much complete by the end of the series, but his death would make great character development for Nori moving forward. Also, remember what I said about parallels with the series? Well, Khan's death would have a couple parallels with episode 2. First, he'll either be lured away or distracted by a hologram of pre-solver Uzi, similar to the Uzi and Khan reunion scene in episode 2. Then, when they get close enough, the hologram of Uzi will dissipate, and Khan will be grabbed by Absolute Uzi, just like how, back in episode 2, Uzi was tricked in the same manner by a hologram of N. And finally, Absolute Uzi will completely decimate Khan the same way Eldritch J decimated the hologram of Khan in episode 2 by using her head to consume him. So it seems like AU wanted to get a more personal, hands-on kind of vengeance on Khan, as she was willing to put her core at risk in order to kill him herself. After Khan's tragic death, either one of two things will happen. 1. Absolute Uzi takes the sick-as-hell railgun away from the murder drone gang, thus forcing them to retreat. Or 2. One of the other members of the murder drone gang pick up the sick-as-hell railgun and uses it to destroy Absolute Uzi, thus ending her reign of terror. Except there was one fatal flaw in the plan. Back in episode 8, when Uzi destroyed Sin's core, we learned about the Singularity Core and how it was indestructible. The only way to prevent Sin from consuming the Singularity Core and being resurrected was to eat the Singularity Core herself. So even if they find Absolute Uzi's core and destroy it, the murder drone gang will never be able to destroy the Singularity Core itself. The best they could do would be if N, V, J, or any other worker drone ate the Singularity Core to prevent AU from coming back. However, remember what I said about this very scenario happening? No matter who consumes the Singularity Core, they'll ultimately end up falling under the influence of the Absolute Solver and become the next version of Sin sooner or later. But I'm pretty sure what will happen is that Absolute Uzi will get the Singularity Core back and resurrect herself with it, thus allowing her to get back to business as usual. So, either the murder drone gang used the sick-as-hell railgun to destroy Absolute Uzi only to realize that the Singularity Core is indestructible, or Absolute Uzi takes away the sick-as-hell railgun, thus preventing the murder drone gang from even getting a chance to use it. Either way, the plan is a failure and the murder drone gang is forced to retreat. Now here, Jay suggests that they use the ship she fixed up in order to escape the planet. With no way to fight Absolute Uzi and time running out, they have no other choice than to go with Jay's plan and abandon Copper 9. So the murder drone gang fight their way through what's left of Outpost 3 and escape to the Corpse Spire, where the spaceship is located. When they reach the ship, they'll only have a little bit of time before Absolute Uzi tears through the wall of the worker drone corpses and destroys them. With little time to spare, N quickly gets the ship off the ground and in the air. He manages to duck, dodge, and weave through the tangled mess of AU's Eldritch, Centiworm Crab Mantis body, thus allowing the murder drone gang to escape Copper 9 before it is fully consumed by Absolute Uzi. And so we come to the end. Our murder drone gang, consisting of N, V, J, Nori, Thad, Lizzie, and hopefully Sparky too, along with that weird gold cricket robot thing, watch in abject horror as Copper 9 is fully consumed by the Singularity. Then they head off to a new planet, in the hopes of finding a way to defeat the Absolute Solver once and for all. However, Absolute Uzi will never let them go. She will continue to chase them down until she has found and killed every member of the murder drone gang. At least I'm pretty sure that's how everything goes down. Now Liam Vickers could be an absolute troll and have everyone get consumed along with Copper 9, if he wanted to end the Murder Drone series for good. But I'm just going to keep hoping for the best and believe that he wouldn't do such a thing. There's also a chance that during the finale, Absolute Uzi would create an army of solver drones to attack the Murder Drone gang. These solver drones would be a bridge between worker drones and disassembly drones, just like V and the other butler drones in Tessa's mansion from the memory section of episode 5. Then, after the destruction of Copper 9, Absolute Uzi would recreate these solver drones as disassembly drones, and potentially send them to any remaining planet to find the Murder Drone gang. This would serve as a pretty neat way to bring back all of the previously deceased side characters that we wanted more of, including Doll, Alice, Brandon, Rachel, Rebecca, Yiva, and maybe even Khan. Sin could quite possibly be brought back as well, in her very own disassembly drone body. There's also the butler drones from Tessa's mansion. Since they are trapped within the hive mind of the solver, they can be brought back as well. It's just like Jay said, you know there's no escape, even in death. Anyways, with the ending of this movie or series or graphic novel, there are many possibilities for where a future series could take us next. Since we're heading for a new planet, we could end up exploring new environments, discover new robots like new Sentinel types, or new worker drone types, or even new types of disassembly drones. And we may even come across some real, living human beings, unlike Tessa from the main series. And if the planet our Murder Drone gang head to is the same one the dogs were evacuated to, then we could even see cute dogs in the future. Also, I'm pretty sure that Sin sent disassembly drones to the other planets before the events of the first series. As we learned in episode 7 that disassembly drones were created to not only kill worker drones, but humans as well. And Sin sent these disassembly drones to the other planets in order to exterminate any human survivors. So there's a chance that we could meet some of these disassembly drones, possibly even exact replicas of N, V, and J in the future. Which would undoubtedly be very awkward for them, to say the least. But no matter what happens, there is one thing I'm absolutely sure of. Absolute Uzi is coming for our Murder Drone gang, and she's going to bring absolute hell with her. So, Jay killed Tessa. Doll comes back as a robo-ghost. Tessa is still alive in the Absolute Solver hive mind, and Uzi falls under the influence of the Absolute Solver, thus becoming the next version of Sin and destroying Copper 9. Hopefully the Murder Drone gang actually manages to escape and we do get even more Murder Drones content after this. I guess the lesson here is, don't judge people on their actions at their worst times. You don't really have any idea what they could be going through. Also, don't let your insecurities and self-doubt make you who you are. You're a lot stronger than you think you are. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Who am I kidding? This theory was depressing as hell. I hope you didn't enjoy this video, because if you did, then that would make you a psychopath. And there's not enough room in this video for 2 psychopaths. Regardless, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a dislike. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell if you want to be notified when I make more murder drone videos, glitch production videos, or just new videos in general. With that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Guess that's the curse that I so desired. Summer in the ice,
You've seen Uzi. You've seen Solver Uzi. And you've even seen Absolute Solver Uzi. But have you ever witnessed biblically accurate Uzi? Well, now you have. Bye.